The 6 o'clock news starts right now.
We always had hopes that they would rebuild because I can't imagine a place where Mystic's not there.
Camp Mystic is reopening after the deadly July 4th floods, but the reaction is not all positive. Tonight, the differing opinions over the best way to move forward. Plus, several recent incidents putting local kids in danger. Coming up, what can be done to end that trend? And you know the saying, if you look good, you feel good. But what if you can't afford that? A group of local students has come up with an answer. First, here tonight, we begin with the forecast and the chance for rain this evening. Adam Caskey here to keep an eye on things and time it all out for us, Adam.
Yeah, and Myra, right now, not much activity on authority radar. Really, what's left over is mostly closer to the Gulf Coast and in and around the Victoria area, Victoria toward Goliad. And then you get into the hill country and you see little echoes here. Looks like a shower trying to form just south of Rock Springs. A lot of what you see, though, in this green is actually mid-level cloud cover. But this is an area where we are expecting some additional development overnight tonight and even on into the pre-dawn hours tomorrow. Actually, through the morning commute, we could have a little bit of activity. I want to show you the rain chances overall. And you see how we see a little blip overnight to about 40 to 50% of south central Texas. And that's between about midnight and 9 a.m. That's when we'll see some of the widely separated showers popping up here and there. Not everybody's going to get hit, but where those showers pop up, you can get a quick ½ to an inch of rain. I have the updated futurecast and a look at how morning temperatures in particular will be impacted by the cool front that hit today in just a bit.
All right, Adam, thank you. Camp Mystic will reopen next summer, but not the same location where 27 campers died in the July 4th floods. Mystic sent a letter out to families Tuesday afternoon, letting them know that they would reopen at their other location. It is in the same hill country vicinity, but not the same spot along the Guadalupe River. Our Courtney Friedman explains that announcement has sparked a lot of different opinions and emotions.
My mother went to Camp Mystic, older cousins, and then myself, and then my younger cousins. And now my daughter has signed up. When we found out we were having a little girl, I had little Mystic onesies.
Brady Lehman was a camper and counselor at Bubble Inn, the cabin of the 27 campers and counselors who died July 4th. Being from Kerrville, she knows many people who died across the county.
I lost friends. Their entire family is gone.
So when she got the email Tuesday from Camp Mystic saying it would reopen, her initial feeling was happiness. To her, one less loss.
Just started crying on the couch because I was so excited. The life lessons that we learned at camp will get to continue.
The letter said Mystic's second location, Cypress Lake, would open for summer 2026. That camp was not damaged by the flood. Mystic's letter saying, "We are working to implement new safety protocols and other changes that comply with recently passed camp safety regulation, the Heavens 27 Camp Safety Act." But the news caused a different type of shock for some of the families who lost daughters at Mystic. The mother of 8-year-old Seal Stewart, the only girl still missing, blasted the decision, telling the New York Times, "The truth is Camp Mystic failed our daughters. Camp Mystic is pressing ahead with reopening, even if it means inviting girls to swim in the same river that may potentially still hold my daughter's body," end quote. Mystic's letter mentioned a memorial that will be built for the girls who were lost, yet some of the families say they were not consulted.
There is a portion of those families who have been very vocal and upset about this.
I know a lot of the families, and it is a grief that I pray I never have to endure. I just want them to know that we love them so much and we pray for them daily. And the strings we have to each other are because of Mystic.
Which is why she hopes there is a way forward for everyone. Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
The letter from the camp did say that it mentioned the Guadalupe location where the flooding happened. The camp said they will, quote, "continue to evaluate plans to rebuild Camp Mystic Guadalupe River. Our planning and procedures will reflect the catastrophic 1,000-year weather event that occurred on July 4th, including never having campers return to cabins that had floodwaters inside them," end quote. As a reminder, the deadline is almost here if you're looking to apply for financial assistance following the Hill Country floods. It is September 28th. That's this Sunday. This applies to people who live in qualifying counties, which we've listed those for you right here on your screen. You can submit damages and make claims to FEMA, and we have a link to do that on our website at KSAT.com. Let's take a look outside right now. This TransGuide view showing a traffic tie-up. I-37 at Hackberry. You can see that there were at least 2 lanes blocked by what appears to be an accident involving a large truck, an 18-wheeler there. There's the fire truck behind them, as well as an SAPD vehicle trying to get this scene cleared. Not sure exactly what led up to this, but again, a closure of at least 2 lanes. Traffic slowly making its way around this, and then it's clear just beyond. But I-37 at Hackberry, expect a bit of a backup. The last 2 months have been especially dangerous and deadly for local children. We've covered their stories. No fewer than 9 harmed or in harm's way since July. Katrina Weber spoke to a child safety expert for an explanation of this disturbing trend and what can be done to prevent it.
From the insides of cars to homes and streets, it seems no place has been safe for local children lately. Within 2.5 weeks starting in late July, 2 toddlers were found wandering alone in different parts of Bexar County.
He was tiny. He depended on any adult that he had around him.
That neighbor found one of them and got him out of harm's way. But his mother and the parents of the other toddler were all arrested. For other children, though, help came too late. An 8-year-old boy was shot dead in July by another child handling a gun. Then 2 children that same month and 1 in August died after being left in hot cars.
When you hear about kids being harmed anyway,
it's sad. It's disheartening.
Eric Hunter lives in the neighborhood where 2 more children were found dead this week. While their mother also blamed a hot car, sheriff's detectives weren't so sure and arrested her.
not all of these dangerous and deadly situations have resulted in clear-cut cases of blame. The death of 6-year-old Axel Hernandez on this neighborhood street in August was actually ruled an accident. Police say he rolled into the path of a pickup while riding on a plastic car.
It hurts us. It does hurt us when a child does pass.
Esmeralda Murua is a child safety specialist with the Department of Family and Protective Services. She says the unusually high number of deaths is hard to swallow, especially those that were preventable.
In the situation where children are left in vehicles, there's a lot of times these families are dealing with a lot of stressors.
She says the well-being of children is up to all of us, from parents guarding their safety to everyone else reporting any signs of trouble. Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
Fearing for their lives inside their own home. A family in Northwest Bexar County says law enforcement isn't doing enough. Damage from gunshots line Carlos Valadez's property. Valadez was at home Friday at the time of the shooting, along with his fiancée and 11-month-old daughter.
This is one of the impacts made by 3 different shots that hit your property, and this is where you would be playing your dogs and also your daughter.
Correct, yeah. It's just like one stray bullet, and it's going to change my life forever. And I'm not going to be able to take it back. Someone could literally get killed.
Valadez believes his neighbor is the one who fired the shots, all because his dogs were barking. This is video of a confrontation between Valadez and his neighbor. We're blurring the neighbor's face because the Bexar County Sheriff's Office has not charged him with anything. According to reports from the Bexar County Sheriff's Office, the neighbor admitted to shooting to scare away raccoons, but says he didn't shoot in the direction of Valadez's home or anyone else. Tonight, we're still waiting for BCSO to answer our follow-up questions. A 19-year-old man is in jail tonight facing terror charges. According to arrest paperwork, Zaylin Dunbar posted on the San Antonio Young Republicans Facebook page, making threatening comments about the vigil held for Charlie Kirk at the UTSA downtown campus. Police say Dunbar later admitted to posting those comments. Records show that he's in jail tonight on a $40,000 bond. He's accused of killing his own uncle, and now he's been formally indicted by a grand jury. This man is David Ruiz. He is in jail tonight. San Antonio police found the body of Las Palapas founder Edward Ron Acosta back in July inside his home near Blanco Road, just outside of Loop 1604. Officers learned that Ruiz and Acosta got into an argument, and that may have led to a deadly stabbing. Ruiz left that scene but ended up being stopped in Kimball County and then extradited back here to Bexar County. New at 6, we have learned 29-year-old Joshua John is a suspected shooter, in the Dallas Immigration and Customs Enforcement Field Office shooting. 2 people were killed and another is hurt after police say the gunman started that shooting. Investigators say he was perched on a rooftop where he shot 3 detainees. John then died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. ICE has been increasing deportation efforts across the country and say attacks and threats on ICE offices have skyrocketed this year.
There was a bomb threat almost to the day where an individual came up claiming that he had a bomb strapped to him in August. And just in July, we had officers and agents ambushed about 40 minutes away in Alvarado, Texas, by a group with military-style weapons on July 4th.
In response to this shooting, security has now been ramped up at other ICE facilities across the country. We've reached out to officials with our local ICE office, asking if any increased security measures are being taken here. So far, we've not yet heard back. The people have spoken. We ask you to spotlight your favorite businesses around San Antonio, and you came through. Coming up a little bit later, we'll take you to one of those businesses, and comic book lovers aren't going to want to miss this one. Plus, right after the break here on the News at 6, what you wear says a lot about you. And a group of local students is making sure their peers can afford to choose the message they want. We'll explain next.
Multiple homes across the city are reporting that people are trying to break into their cars while holding their home at gunpoint. We're talking to SAPD about what you can do to keep your neighborhood safe coming up.
When it comes to shopping for clothes, looking good at an affordable price is always one of the goals, but it can also combat bullying and insecurities in high school. That's the goal for a nonprofit created by students at Clemens High School in Schertz. Sarah Acosta shows us Clemens Closet, a thrift store on campus for students to shop trends at prices they can afford.
I've bought some shorts. I've bought multiple t-shirts.
A thrift store in the middle of Clemens High School, open during lunch period for anyone to shop.
That's actually cute.
It's popular and sells some good stuff.
What was the name brand? What were the leggings? Lululemon. It's a pretty nice legging.
Were you the one that scored those?
I did not, but someone lucky did.
The Gap? Selling name brand thrifted items at very low prices, only $3 for tops and $5 for bottoms. The concept is simple. Take donated clothes from the Clemens community, wash them, and sell them at low prices with the proceeds being donated. The store was created by high school seniors Shelby Houston and Ledger Kling when they were sophomores for a project.
We were looking for a creative way to raise money for charities, and we wanted it to be interactive for students.
They raise money for the nonprofit Boysville, but Clemens Closet has become a place for students to feel confident in what they are wearing without having to worry about the price.
Making kids in high schools feel more confident. It shouldn't matter what financial standing you had. You should always be able to feel confident in what you're wearing. Yeah, it looks good.
Ledger says staying trendy is very expensive.
I see all these prices and they're extremely high, $50 just for a t-shirt.
Ava Samaniego shops and works at the store. She says so many people shop at Clemens Closet, it's all the same.
Personally, when I've worked at the store, I can't tell who is maybe struggling and who's not. I just think everyone is the same, and I think everyone should be treated the same, no matter what they're wearing.
Both Shelby and Ledger say they will pass down the store to other students to keep it running after they graduate. They hope that other schools get inspired to start similar projects. Sarah Acosta, KSAT 12 News.
I think that is such a cool project.
Those kids are going somewhere, too.
Right?
You know
it's
that.
It's a legacy they're leaving there at Clemens.
It is.
Very cool. All right, look outside with live cam. That front has moved through, Adam. Now it's the rain that we're waiting on.
Yeah, we're still, waiting on a few showers. We had a little bit earlier today here and there, but this front not very efficient at making much rain. Still some scattered opportunities tonight, and I think rain chances will get a little bit of a bump later tonight after midnight all the way through the morning commute tomorrow at about 40% coverage of south central Texas. So clearly not everybody getting in on the activity. Now here's our futurecast, and it's in line with what we're seeing right now. The showers south and east of San Antonio this evening, and then we get after midnight some redevelopment closer to the Rio Grande, parts of the hill country, and then that action drifts towards San Antonio in the pre-dawn hours and through the morning commute. Don't expect a whole lot out of these, maybe a quick half an inch from the neighborhoods that are fortunate enough to get splashed by some of these showers. And again, the timeline is through the morning commute, and then we start to clear out by mid to late morning with sunshine for tomorrow afternoon. A look at authority radar right now. The action is right along the frontal boundary, and I mean, I hesitate to really call it a front. It's a wind shift line more than anything, but technically, meteorologically speaking, it's a cold front, but it's not going to make things much cooler. But notice in Goliad County, basically Goliad to Victoria, some of the showers and storms down Beeville as well, lit up activity there. That's really all we have to speak of around our area. Now, everywhere you see the blue and green on the map, this is where we actually had rainfall earlier today. Out near Uvalde, southeast of Uvalde, over an inch of rain estimated by Doppler radar. But you get into town and it was far west side of Bexar County, far north side, where we had some neighborhoods picking up around half an inch. I mean, you go near Medical Center and you see a half an inch. Far northwest side, kind of near the Dominion, La Cantera about half an inch, and Alamo Ranch about half an inch. But those were the exceptions, not the norm, clearly. Okay, one of the subtle changes from this cool front is going to be lower humidity by this time tomorrow, even a little earlier than this time tomorrow. Dew point's still high. Sometimes with these fronts, especially as we get into late fall and winter, the humidity just plummets right when the front hits. It's not the case with this front. It's going to take some time. Notice as we go through tonight, still humid, dew points in the 60s, around 70, even at noon tomorrow, noticeable humidity. Anytime that dew point is 60 or above, you notice the mugginess. By tomorrow afternoon, dew points drop down into the 50s. And that's going to be the first subtle change from this weak cool front. But that drier air also leads to cooler mornings. I mean, we were 79 for our low this morning. It was almost 80 degrees. Tomorrow will be 73, and then look at this. Even a little below average by Friday morning at sunrise, 65. Saturday, very similar, and into the weekend mornings in the upper 60s. And yes, our average low, kids, is 67, 67, 67. I still don't totally get it, but it's one of those things the kids are doing these days. Fellow parents of middle schoolers, you know, right? All right, let's quickly talk about Tropical Storm Humberto. This is south of Gabrielle. Gabrielle, that's headed eastward and weakening, but Humberto, that's our newest tropical storm, headed toward Bermuda over the next several days, likely to strengthen as it does so. And then this is most likely going to arc off to the east, kind of like what Gabrielle did over the past several days. But we're also watching this area, this cluster of storms near the Caribbean, and that's going to head toward the Bahamas and potentially impact somewhere along the southeastern coast of the U.S. or just stay out to sea. That's something we're going to have to watch with that other system. We'll keep an eye on it, keep you updated. But right now, neither are necessarily a threat. 93 today, that was our high temperature. Right now we're at 88, but 93 in Poteet, Stinson 95. Tomorrow morning, low 70s around town, a little bit cooler in the hill country. Still though, near 90 tomorrow afternoon, and then as we go forward, despite this cool front, afternoon temperatures don't change much. It's those mornings we'll notice a little bit of a temperature drop.
Kasky, you know I got an ad for socks that say 6'7" on my phone. And I swear it's because my phone knows I'm hanging out with you and Larry. You both do it.
And your kids.
And my kids. They told me that at breakfast this morning. I don't know why or for what, but it was said. Okay, Larry, Jeff Traylor is addressing the rumors.
Yeah, and this is part of when you have a winning program, your name always gets tossed around when an opening comes up. So Oklahoma State, they fire their head football coach, and Jeff Traylor is on a short list of candidates. He's talking about that rumor coming up. And in the NFL, Shoddy says the Packers are more than Micah Parsons. Coming up.
I've proven over and over and over again this is where I want to be. My wife and I absolutely love it here.
Jeff Traylor says he's not going anywhere in big board sports. Now that Mike Gundy is out at Oklahoma State, the Cowboys will need a new head football coach, and one name that's coming up is Roadrunners head coach Jeff Traylor. Texas State's G.J. Kinney and North Texas head coach Eric Morris also listed as possible candidates. Now in his 6th year at UTSA, this is pretty much an annual routine for Traylor. ESPN has him at the top of its list for OSU. Today, Coach talked about the speculation and if this is something he had to address with his team.
I have. I always do. It's no different than all the other things we've heard since I've been here. I've proven over and over and over again this is where I want to be. My wife and I absolutely love it here. And what makes that stuff happen is us winning games. That's why that happens. So we are always on Temple. That's it. That's it. Now the reason I had to address it is just because I want to make sure that they're hearing it from me, of my commitment to stay at UTSA and my wife and I, how much we love San Antonio. But yeah, our focus is all on Temple right now.
UTSA will next play at Temple on Saturday, October 4th at noon, an American Conference opener for both sides. Green Bay at Dallas is producing one of the biggest storylines this week. Micah Parsons returned to Arlington to face his former team. Dallas traded him to Green Bay after a failed contract extension in 3 games with the Packers so far. Parsons has 5 total tackles and 1.5 sacks. He had 52.5 sacks in 4 seasons with the boys. He is a beast, but Shoddy says Green Bay's defense is about more than just Micah.
Like I said, they've got other really good players as well. Micah can be dominant, and we know that. But we're going to hit him, and we're going to put multiple people on him. And you know what? It's going to be a long day for us and the guys trying to block him because he's that talented. But it's not just about Micah. It's about their entire defense. But really, it's about us. It's about us controlling what we control. And those guys out there on defense, including Micah, Rashawn Gary, those guys are great players, man. But if we get caught up too much on them, then you lose focus on what really matters, which is your execution.
On the flip side, the Packers will face their former defensive tackle Kenny Clark, who was part of the Parsons trade. He spent 9 full seasons in Green Bay before joining the boys, and his former head coach knows they will have to plan for Clark.
He looks really good, like I would expect, like he did when he was here. So, yeah, he's going to be a handful. I think Kenny's a pro's pro. I've got so much respect for him, as much as anybody that I've been around in this game, in terms of just his approach, his team-first mentality, his willingness to help others and bring guys along. He wasn't always the most vocal, but when he talked, everybody listened, and they listened for a reason because everybody respected what he did.
The Packers will play at the Cowboys Sunday night in Green Bay. Myra is favored by 6.5 points.
All right, we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Thank you, Larry. Our KSAT Q&A is up next. From county funding for a potential new Spurs arena to voter registration concerns and strengthening the county's flood warning system. A lot to talk about with today's KSAT Q&A guest. Bexar County Commissioner Justin Rodriguez joining us here in the studio. We appreciate you being here.
Myra, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
okay, let's start with Prop A, Prop B. People are beginning to see the signs for that. It's on the ballot coming up in November. So Prop B is the one a lot of people are focused on. Up to $311 million in county funding for that potential new Spurs arena. Where is that money coming from, and why do you think it's needed?
Great question. So first of all, a lot of confusion over the Project Marvel discussion, the arena. The county's involvement is just with the arena, and I'll talk about Prop A in a minute, but Prop B is essentially the same funding source. It's a venue tax. This was created by the legislature 25 plus years ago. Money that is specifically can go to arenas, stadiums, performing arts centers. So it's earmarked. It's a specialty type tax. And I want to talk about tax in a minute because everybody says, well, who's paying for it, right? Yeah. So important to know, both on Prop A and Prop B, that no local taxpayer pays towards that. Zero from our families, zero from local taxpayers. The taxpayer is actually the tourist. So this is a tourist tax, and those that come into our community, they rent a car. There's a 5% tax on that. Those who rent hotel rooms, Currently, the county portion is 1.75%. Prop B will take it, and Prop A will take it to 2%. So these are taxes that are going to be collected. The county, if it passes, will issue the bonds. The bonds are guaranteed by the revenues that are collected from those hotel and rental car taxes. So it's a tourist tax. No local dollars are going towards this particular portion. You mentioned Prop B, which is the arena funding portion, up to $311 million from the county. And then Prop A, importantly, everybody loves not just the Spurs, but the rodeo here in San Antonio. Huge economic generator for us. The rodeo potentially takes over the grounds for year-round programming at Freeman and the Ross Bank Center. So up to, I think it's $190 million on Prop A for the rodeo to continue to invest in kind of reimagining and transforming the East Side. A lot of folks say, well, what happened? The Spurs never delivered on that promise. A lot of factors. That was before my time. But the reality is we are doubling down on investment on the East Side and making sure that we invest in our East Side community, but also the downtown district and the Spurs Arena. This is something that I think is important for our community to get out, educate themselves. Most important distinction is it's not coming from your tax dollars. It is being paid by tourists who come into our community.
So just to reiterate, this hotel and car rental tax, that's an existing tax. Prop A and B would bump it up.
Yep.
And then would earmark the increase to go to up to $311 million to the arena.
Right.
And then the other earmarked portion would go to essentially make sure that the Freeman Coliseum and Frost Bank Center are still viable, usable venues.
And those are going to really transform. When the Spurs eventually, 5 years or 6 years left on the Frost Bank Center lease, when they eventually move to this new arena downtown, the rodeo will be in charge of year-round programming. There is all kinds of things that they're talking about doing, from a county fair to year-round chado type events. So one thing I want to note for those that are educating themselves now is the legislature requires on that prop language to say at the very top, this is a tax increase in bold language, right? The truth of the matter, it is, because it's going from 1.75 to 2% on the hotel bill. But again, it's not a tax increase for local homeowners.
It's a tax increase, but it's who pays that increase that is the difference.
Absolutely.
I could stand here and talk about arena funding and Project Marvel the entire time, but we do have a lot of things that we want to get to as well. Speaking of Prop A and B being on the ballot, we've got early voting starting October 4th, October 20th,
right.
And then October 6th is the deadline for people to register to vote.
Yeah.
Last week we covered some concerns about that, some questions about if everyone who wants to register would be able to. We know there's been some technical issues. The county is also switching over to a new registration system. The elections administrator told us she felt confident that everybody would be able to register. How do you feel about that?
So look, I stopped in on Friday to the elections office, visited with Michelle Crew, our elections administrator, all of her staff. I feel confident as well after visiting that these applications are going to get processed. The short of it is, out of our control, a software vendor went out of business. We are now kind of scrambling to get data from the Secretary of State's office, and that is ongoing. I talked to her again today. They're updating, validating addresses. All intents are, and everybody, all hands on deck, working almost 24/7, nights, weekends, over the course of the next few weeks. Anybody that's put an application in, it will get processed. They will be able to vote. And notably, I should say, you have until October 6th to register to vote. People don't realize that even oftentimes when early voting has already started, they are still processing those that come in on October 6th, right? So go to the ballot box. If for some reason they don't find you in there, you can always vote a provisional ballot and it'll get settled after the fact. But fully confident it's going to get done.
Okay, good to know. Want to also ask you about the county's recently approved budget, set aside $21 million for a flood warning system.
Right.
One already existed in Bexar County, but what does this money do to that system?
So this is essentially a next generation 2.0, if you will, more of a predictive system. We've had conversations with our the River Authority, San Antonio River Authority. Some of the technology that they have in terms of meteorology, top notch. Some of the best in the country. So what we're going to is essentially, as I mentioned, more of a predictive system, almost similar to when you come to a railroad crossing. You know that 2 miles, 3 miles down the road, there's a car coming and the arms close. So this is going to be similar to that in that instead of reacting and saying, hey, we're having flash flooding and the water's moving up a few inches a minute, they're going to be able to predict that the water is rising at a certain level and those arms are going to close in advance of any hopefully loss of life or property. That is the goal. That is a key function for county government is flood control. So we acted right away. I mean, soon after these events happened, both locally and up in the Hill Country, we directed the county manager to find the money, $21 million in this budget. So I would expect soon in the new year in 2026, you're going to see some of these new systems going into place. Again, not just the what you see, but the technology behind it, the software behind it that is more predictive as opposed to reactive.
You mentioned finding the money. That's always an issue,
It is,
right?
yeah.
And it is in another topic that we have covered here at KSAT, the backlog of domestic violence cases in Bexar County. Our Courtney Friedman's been looking at that extensively, whether it's in the courts themselves, whether it's in the DA's office. It's been a persistent issue for the county, and all of those different folks involved along the way have pointed to funding.
Absolutely.
We need money for more prosecutors. We need more courtrooms. We need higher salaries. What can the county do to continue to address that?
Yeah, so I will tell you over the course of the last few years, we have not only added positions for the district attorney's office, but we've increased across the board salaries because he was losing folks, and some of them were going to smaller counties that maybe paid more, better quality of life because there were smaller caseloads. Look, it's a tough job. I'm a former prosecutor, and domestic violence is obviously an issue that we take with the utmost seriousness. So we've put money in not just to the prosecutor positions, but to the high impact courts so that they're addressing these more quickly, more rapidly, and also to the investigators, right? The investigator piece is significant. So we've added investigators both at the DA level and at the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. And, I'm confident that it never moves fast enough, right? Justice can sometimes be slow, but we need to make sure we're addressing the victims first. And I think we've prioritized that over the last few budgets, and I'm very, very hopeful that we're making a difference.
Yeah, it's about getting those people protection and justice to those who need it.
Absolutely.
County Commissioner Justin Rodriguez, we appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
We'll have you back. We got more to discuss.
Anytime, Ira. Thank you so much.
We'll be right back. Let's take a look outside with live cam here this evening. A front has moved through our area, but don't expect huge changes in temperature. It's the rain that could come later on tonight that we're keeping track of. Adam Caskey will give us an update when we come back.
All right, let's talk about the primary headlines over the next several days. Now, the rain, first of all, overnight, widely separated to scattered. And we're already seeing some new development in Wilson County. And that's encouraging in terms of the trend that we could get overnight. The cool front, just some subtle changes, nothing huge. And we haven't had our first real front yet. Mornings, not as warm, dropping into the mid 60s. That's the biggest change. Where we've been upper 70s for sunrise temperatures, instead, we'll soon get down into the mid 60s. High temperatures today across the state. This is important because that front came from the north, only in the low to mid 80s through North Texas. San Angelo 81, Dallas a high of 85. Meanwhile, Laredo out ahead of the front, 193 here in San Antonio. We will see a subtle temperature drop in the afternoons, but nothing significant, just upper 80s to near 90 for a few days. Notice the temperatures now. Amarillo, not bad. It's nice to be farther behind that front at 70. Lubbock, 76, and even 80 right now in Wichita Falls. So I mentioned the morning temperatures being impacted the most. The average low is 67. We'll be above that tomorrow at 73. Then by Friday and Saturday, about 65 to 66 for that morning sunrise temperature. Thereafter, mid to upper 60s, so a little closer to average going forward. Here's a look at that front as it moved on through with not much fanfare, but most of the rain action was parts of northeast Texas and eastern part of the state there on into Louisiana and even Arkansas. But we're starting to see a little bit of redevelopment around here in our neck of the woods. The front right now down to the south from just south of, basically just north of Laredo, all the way to Cotulla, Tilden, Beeville, and Victoria. And I mentioned that new development on the radar. This just popped up, and this is in Wilson County. Even a little bit of lightning. See those white lines indicating the lightning strikes, and we'll just go over the past 30 minutes. Look at this, past 15 minutes, this just popped up in and around Falls City, just south of Stockdale. This isn't going to be very long and drawn out, but it's better than nothing, and we anticipate more of this, that trend to be scattered or widely separated later tonight, especially midnight all the way through the morning commute. That's our main window of opportunity for any additional showers. And I think from midnight and later on, starting closer to the Rio Grande and in the Hill Country, and then drifting eastward in and around San Antonio, the pre-dawn hours, and even through the morning commute. And then by mid to late morning, the sky will start to clear from the north to the south, and we'll have a decent amount of sunshine on your Thursday. Still humid, quite often, especially as you get farther into fall and winter, the cold fronts will really drop the dew point, and you'll feel that abrupt change. That's not the case with this one. Dewies are still in the 60s, but that's going to change tomorrow afternoon. Dew points will be dropping slowly, but they will during the day tomorrow. Starting off humid in the 60s by noon, lower 60s, and then by tomorrow afternoon, dew points are down in the 50s. So you will notice a change in the humidity levels by tomorrow afternoon. And then even Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll still have lower humidity, especially in the afternoons. Tropical storm Umberto, the newest one. This is just northeast of the Caribbean and the Leeward Islands here. This is likely to take a similar path to Gabrielle toward Bermuda in the days ahead. And then another area we're watching just to the west of it. But around here, high and dry Friday through the weekend, just some morning showers possible early tomorrow, then high and dry till Monday, Tuesday, a slight chance of rain with a little upper level disturbance, a 30 to 20% chance. Be right back in a few minutes.
We ask you to weigh in on your favorite businesses around town, and now the results are in. We have your top picks in categories ranging from restaurants to dog groomers, mechanics, and even comic book shops. Devin Karp takes us inside the growing hobby to see why one company wants to make sure that fans always have an affordable and accessible place to call home.
I've been doing this so long that it was kind of taboo in the beginning to be like, you're reading comics or you're playing card games or whatever, and now it's cool.
Robert Carrasco can't help but marvel at the growing popularity of comic books, trading cards, and board games in San Antonio and across the nation.
Comics aren't only in your blood, they're on your skin.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've been doing this a long time, so I figured, it wasn't in the cards for me to, work in a boardroom or something like that.
As the general manager, he's seen Heroes and Fantasies, the 38-year-old shop, grow from a small storefront to a large warehouse filled with literal hundreds of thousands of comics, toys, and cards, attracting the attention of local celebrities like Victor Wembanyama.
It's helped in the growth and it not just be seen as we're just a comic book shop where it's kind of more of a pop culture thing.
Besides all the merchandise, there's even more fun to be found in the back. Large tables open all day, every day for people to come together, meet a stranger, and try to fight, trade, or collect something new. With free game nights and tutorials happening almost every night of the week.
We do have some of our employees that will demo for you and teach you how to play a game. But I think it's just as cool when some of the players want to help you as well and we need these cards that have some extra or whatever, that kind of such. And so it's kind of neat to see them kind of pull together and help somebody out. And
at a time when prices are rising and scalpers are swooping in for mainstream merchandise, Heroes and Fantasies wants to stay local and keep the fun accessible and affordable.
We want to make sure that we're not gatekeeping and we are allowing everyone to get into this hobby where not everyone can come in and afford a $50 toy or something like that.
And if you're a bit of a nerd like I am, it's hard not to feel like a kid in a candy store with a little bit of something for everyone.
I just think it's interesting that if you don't like what's available, you'll probably find something. And so we try really hard to try to stock a little bit of everything.
Devin Karp, KSAT 12 News.
Let's take a look now at what's coming up tonight on ABC's Prime Time. At 7 o'clock, it is The Golden Bachelor. Then at 9, Shark Tank, followed by The Night Beat at 10. We'll be right back. That's all our time here on the News at 6. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you back here on the Night Beat.